So YouTube has pretty much left me no choice. So I'm going to tell you about the future of Ministry of Guitar. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Ministry of Guitar. This is Utkarsh coming to you from Singapore as always. The other day, my wife asked me a very pertinent question. She's asked me what's happening with the Ministry of Guitar. Because I started this channel a long time back, but I started doing it seriously since about October 2023. And in that time, of course, the channel has grown dramatically. And I told her so. I told her that, we are at about 40 something thousand subscribers. It's growing. It's been a bit challenging in maybe the last 6 months because the way YouTube operates has been different. Because for the same metrics, which is the same percentage of people clicking on the thumbnail, which is click through rate, and the same amount of time people watching the video, which is view through rate, these are the two metrics YouTube typically used to drive videos. What has happened is, even though the videos are equally strong performing on these metrics, the number of views that they've been getting has been getting lower and lower, even though my subscriber base has been growing. So I told her that that's been one of the concerns, and that's kind of honestly affected my motivation to do this. Because for me, as a lot of you know who have been watching this channel, in my previous life, I was, of course, in corporate senior leadership. And all my life, I've been motivated by doing something well, being the best at it or close to the best at it. Not to say I'm competitive, win at all costs. And initially, Ministry of Guitar was giving me that particular, what should I say, reward for effort, which is you put in the effort, you see the reward. And I was liking how it was going. But ever since YouTube has altered its algorithm, and I talked about this in a different video where they are kind of prioritizing people who spend money on advertising to boost their videos. And I refuse to do that as a matter of principle because I don't want to create artificial views for the sake of my ego. Right? So then what's happened is automatically I have been seeing a lot lower views and a lot less growth. So that's kind of affected my motivation to make these videos because, you need to see a result for the reward. And the reward can be in terms of views, it can be in terms of monetary reward as well, because ultimately when people do work, they expect to be rewarded for it. And YouTube does have some ad revenue, but it's again more of a pocket money at this point in time. So then the question was, and what my wife asked me is, what was your whole intent with doing Ministry of Guitar? And as I thought about that question, the intent of Ministry of Guitar was not to be a YouTube channel. YouTube just happened to be the medium. The genesis of Ministry of Guitar goes back to the happiness that I used to get in my childhood from reading car magazines. Why car magazines? Because car magazines, which came out every month, had these beautiful road tests of cars, and it had this, all these great editorials. And I used to love that. That was the day of the month that I used to run to the newsstand and get a car magazine. And when I grew up and got into guitars, I realized there wasn't exactly something similar. Yes, you had a few guitar magazines, but they weren't quite the same. The tests weren't as thorough. And obviously, it was very much driven by getting advertising revenue from the different manufacturers. So, it wasn't entirely objective as much as I would like it. And in fact, the entire industry over here, excuse that sound, something happening outside my window, but the entire YouTube guitar review industry that we have is affected by a lot of people's reliance on advertising revenue, maintaining good relationships with the manufacturers, etc. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to give something which is informed expert opinion. I think at this point I am a relative expert on electric guitars, maybe not in terms of the expert in terms of playing, not an expert in terms of playing, but in understanding what makes a good guitar, understanding a few brands. And I also wanted to bring that expert, objective, structured reviews, editorials, understanding of how industry works, because I, of course, was working in senior leadership. I understand how the world goes around. That's what I wanted to do. And YouTube was the way to do it. And I really want that product to be out there. And then the question was, am I letting the tail wag the dog? Which is, I have a vision of what Ministry of Guitar needs to be. I started out with that vision. In fact, before I started this channel, I had a full list of all the end state that I wanted. I would have structured reviews of maybe all the 90 guitars I have, plus maybe 100 more from other sources, so that it's a beautiful resource where you have everything in one place. You have all these editorials which cuts through a little bit of the bullshit. There is no bias, nothing. But am I going to let that vision die just because YouTube has messed around with their algorithm so that they can earn more money, right? And let's face it, it's not a question of YouTube ad revenue, because even at the peak, this channel makes nothing like what I used to earn in the corporate world, and I am financially independent. I've talked about this. But at the same time, there is ultimately the requirement that any work you do is resulting in some sort of economic output that is useful, right? If I wanted to spend my time doing charity, they're the much better users of my time. So ultimately, I realized that there has to be some sort of metric that not only motivates me, but also holds me accountable. And because of all of these reasons, what I've realized is that yes, I do have a vision for Ministry of Guitar, whether it be in terms of the reviews, in opinions, and I also have a lot of product. That was the other thing my wife was asking me. She said you had an entire list of products that you thought would delight guitarists that you have. What's happening with that? And I realized that nothing had been happening on that because the last 6 months I was entirely demotivated with the role of my YouTube channel. And also, the other thing that I was grappling with is the YouTube channel Ministry of Guitar, or is it me, Utkarsh Mohan? Because they were often fairly non-guitar videos, which is what I wanted to get on my mind. So I had to think about how to resolve all of this, because what is the point of continuing doing something if I'm not doing it to be the best at something? That's kind of how I look at it. Pardon me if that's kind of how that's just my approach in life. So after much thought, this is what I thought. Ministry of Guitar will continue, but it will not be YouTube forward. It will be Substack forward. I'll explain this in a second. Secondly, Ministry of Guitar will focus only on music related matters, and sometimes things do get music related. Any other matters which are on my mind will be on a separate Substack. And in general, I am going to be moving away from a YouTube led model to a Substack led model. And I'm starting this from scratch. It's not that I have a Substack established right now. Now, why am I doing this? Number one, let's talk about the separation of music and others. And number two, let's talk about Substack versus YouTube. Why I'm separating music versus others is I have plenty of facets that I'm interested in, whether it be from an economics, history, geopolitical perspective, whether it's my passion for cars, passion for running and fitness. So I think it's best to keep things in their particular spaces. So I have decided that the Ministry of Guitar is not Utkarsh Mohan only. It has to be bigger than that. All the principles that I talked about. So Ministry of Guitar will be about guitar and music and the industry and everything. So, and other things will be other things. I'm going to keep that designation. Secondly, Substack versus YouTube. What I like about Substack is it is not an advertising based platform. It is a direct to consumer or a direct to customer based platform, which is that what I create on Substack does not have to be trying to constantly getting more eyeballs, trying to break through an algorithm. It is rather a community of people who are interested in the content and who are subscribed to my content with the intention of getting everything that comes from me. YouTube, now you make a video, I have 40,000 subscribers, barely 1,000 or 2,000 will see it on their feeds because YouTube is prioritizing its algorithm. Substack will send something, it's like a newsletter that comes to your thing. And the reason that also probably people are more accountable is because very simply there are free Substacks and there are paid Substacks. And my intention is to create a paid Substack, very frankly, because then the payment, and I'm talking about payment in a second because I'll tell you my thoughts about this as well. This is an important point. Then that also is a kind of accountability of me to create the content, and also for the person that, hey, I'm paying for something, let me check it out. So it's kind of a closed loop in that way. Now, on Substack, I looked up what was the bare minimum that can be charged, and the bare minimum that you can charge on Substack is $5 a month or $30 a year, and there's something called founding member which people can pay more. I just put that option out there. I just added a cursory dollar to just be higher than 30, so 31. So I put $5 a month or $30 or 31. I am not trying to create a discount here. Please subscribe for a year so you can save whatever dollars. No. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a direct to customer model where I have the ability to create a property that is independent, that does not require advertising, that is self-sustaining. Ultimately, Ministry of Guitar, I would like it to be more than just me. The principles is what I'm talking about. Though, of course, I'm not going to just create it and walk away. This is a thing I want to create over a long period of time. So that's why Substack for me is a better source. So what will happen is everything that happens on Ministry of Guitar will happen first on Substack. I will still use YouTube as an audience generation tool. I'm just going to use YouTube for what it is because it will help new people discover me. Though Substack has those tools as well. So everything that will be published on Substack will be published later on YouTube, probably a day at the earliest, maybe more. That's number one. Number two, what I will do is for my community on Substack, I will be having a weekly ANA, a live session, which I haven't been doing so far. But I was thinking about it. I get so many questions in the in the comment section. I answer them all individually, and I realized that hey, there is value to answering these things on a public forum. And of course, this is not a new realization. Every creator has had this realization. So what I'm going to do is Ministry of Guitar is going to shift to Substack, though it'll come on a delayed fashion on YouTube, and it will also include this. And what I will be expanding to is I'll be expanding to creating the so-called road tests, or rather not road tests, but studio tests of guitars, a lot more content. And hopefully the idea is that ultimately with a reasonable size in terms of number of Substack subscribers, that creates a potential revenue stream to expand Ministry of Guitar to do other things such as invest in product, creating some product lines that I've been very interested in, linked to the art and everything. Few ideas I've been playing around with. And as well as, of course, potentially more presenters rather than just myself, but including myself. I have an entire vision in my mind. Basically, Ministry of Guitar is a place where anybody who loves guitar, it's something that delights you. It's something you look forward to your weekly hit. That's basically how I look at it. So yes, so my Substack has already been created. The first video is out, which video will be out on YouTube later. It's already out on Substack. So my very simple request is this. If you like what I'm doing or I have been doing so far on the Ministry of Guitar for the last 1.5 years, and you would like me to continue doing this and you'd like me to take this to a different level, the best thing that you can do is subscribe to my Substack. I honestly don't care much about YouTube subscriptions at this point in time because they are pretty useless. So please subscribe to my Substack. The link is in below. And on YouTube, I will still be here. It will still be delayed. One quick note, I deliberately did not use YouTube memberships because YouTube memberships, again, puts more power in the hands of YouTube. They can change their algorithm again. They have so much power already. I have no intentions of doing that. I had to be independent of this medium that is YouTube. YouTube cannot be the tail driving the dog or the horse, which is Ministry of Guitar, hence Substack. All right, folks, this is my story. Hopefully you'll continue with me on this journey. I have a lot of things that I want to do. And please do join my Substack. I will remind you in every video that I make on YouTube or on Substack. All right, folks, I'll see you next time.